Hello, welcome to our new show, which we are on camera for, and hopefully you guys can see us and it's all working absolutely perfectly. I have made a couple of mistakes on the way, but welcome to the show. It's a new show. I'm changing the name to The Infinite Podcast. So this would be episode 103, I guess, still. But yeah, welcome to the show. Hopefully everything's working. Looks like it's working all good. Probably going to be some technical hiccups, but we'll get through it and we'll learn and we'll get better and better. And each week I'm going to try to up the show and improve things. But let's get into it. Let's not mess around. We've got one of our favorite guests returning again, Kay Asante. How you doing, man? Welcome back.
I am. He's back.
We're doing it
live. Everything just froze on my end, so I'm not sure. Have you guys got frozen?
I saw you freeze, but I'm fine. At least I see the blue number.
Yeah, okay. The video's frozen on the feed though, not the gameplay, just the video.
Well, let's just go. Hello. No. Like immediately, as soon as we go live.
Yeah, it says you all are frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all frozen. But you can hear us, right? So
we are frozen, yes.
Yeah.
We are all frozen, but you can hear us.
Yeah. We would like to build a snowman.
Well, look, I'll work on that.
Beautiful. What pose we took when we froze. Each of us have a different one. It's actually kind of interesting. I'm watching it now. I'm sorry.
It's looking like you're breaking down. It looks like you're breaking down history, American history to Riskit. You're like, listen, brother. So what really happened here? We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Don't do that.
And Riskit is looking like, say what?
Oh, come on. All right, we're gonna devolve the show already. Go continue. Are we? Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think I've got everything back. That was funny. And it'll probably cut out again and do whatever it does and does its thing. But moving on, who's next? ThatBlueNumber. Welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to?
Hey. Hello, everyone. Hey, chat. It's good to see you. We are doing the video thing, so forgive a little bit of technical difficulty. It's going to be awesome. And I have been really busy with work and a few other things going on, but been playing a lot of indies this week, expanding my horizons and getting through some of those. So happy to be here. Merry Christmas to everyone, if that's your thing. And if anything, have some great time off because you're probably getting that in the next few days, which is great. So,
yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah. So I'm in the background. This is what doing all these things, pressing buttons.
I was watching. It was. This is going to be awesome. This is such a good podcast. Everybody bookmark this one and come back so you watch the shenanigans. It's good.
Infinite Umbra, welcome back. Another fantastic week. How's your week been?
Oh, yeah. It's that time again, everyone. Your boy, Infinite Umbra, in the place to be. Kay Asante, ThatBlueNumber, Riskit for the biscuit, JediKnightPeter, and your boy, Infinite Umbra, here to bring it to you like nobody else can. I've been good, man. I've been good. I've been good, man. I had a really good show yesterday. Danny was at work, so it was just me hosting. But I had the I call him the dean of documents post up, and my Chicago brother, and Dirt Griggity, the king of talking net, or TTS. I don't want to curse right now. And man, we had a really good show. Post was in his bag, man. He was preaching throughout the whole thing, and I brought them in because I knew that they would carry the day with the news we had to cover for the leaks and such. But man, we had a really good time, and I mean, you guys came through a little bit to see it, so appreciate you guys for swinging through. And yeah, but I'm happy to be here tonight. Of course, we have the legendary Kay Asante with us, so I couldn't be happier. Yeah, man, let's have a good show.
Absolutely. Pete, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? Your turn.
Good, brother. Congratulations, man. Long
not gonna
time
do it.
coming, going on camera. So I am happy for you. No, I'm not going to do all that nonsense. I've been doing the camo grind on COD. Me and Panda have been playing a little bit of Legendary Firefight. We got our first dub. That was really cool. We were playing with the bomb. And I've been trying to get into Baldur's Gate 3, but damn, there's a lot of decisions to make in that game. And decisions aren't my thing when it comes to gaming, so it's taken me a while to get through it. But happy to be here. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to the chat. You guys who've come through to join us. I know that there's a whole bunch of other podcasts happening right now. So I really appreciate every single one of you guys in the chat coming through and supporting us. Let's jump into it, because I did say on the promo on Twitter that we are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the Insomniac hacks. But before we jump into that, I want to say I found this really interesting. This is a sort of a demonstration of I wouldn't say the Xbox tax, but more the PlayStation gift card. Now, Kind of Funny, I got a lot of love for Kind of Funny, a lot of love for Paris, and all those guys, Greg, all those guys that I really do love that podcast. They're great guys. Snowbike Mike, absolute champion. But I found it really odd, and it wasn't just them. Even Skill Up, friend of the channel and a great guy as well, would not cover these leaks. It was not a problem when Capcom had their employees' details leaked. It was not a problem when Xbox had their roadmap leaked. But this seems to be a bit of a massive problem. Now, this is probably one of the biggest leaks we've ever had. I mean, every day there's something new. I think today I woke up to there's a full playable build of Spider-Man on PC that they're just trying to download. First 25 minutes of the game was leaked. A playable build of that game was leaked. So there's orders of magnitude. This is probably one of the worst. But if you're in the game of covering video game news, this is probably one of the biggest video game news items that's come out for I don't know how long, so I found it very strange. I will say and preface all of this before we start talking about this. I love you, Jason Max. Every podcast, remember, Xbox is number one. Number one. I will preface this with, this really does suck for the developers and for the studios and the publisher. Sony, it really does, and my heart goes out to them. And I definitely don't think it's not a great thing that they have had their details leaked from passports to all those private details. It's just not really acceptable. But that's not what we're talking about. It's not what we're here to talk about, and that's not what we're gonna talk about. And there's a hell of a lot to cover on this, so you're gonna have to bear with us. So I guess the first thing off the run is PlayStation has a roadmap, which they didn't have before, right? And so I'll see if I can bring this up on screen. Nope, it doesn't want to switch now. Okay, it doesn't want to switch, but that's fine. We'll leave it. So Insomniac Games roadmap extended. So we've already had Spider-Man remastered. Surprised there's not 3 more remasters there. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, that's already come out in 2021. Spider-Man 2, obviously 2023. Wolverine is slated for 2025, and this would be pretty disappointing for you, Umbra, because I know that you wanted an X-Men game on Xbox, and that's what you were sort of looking forward to. We got Spider-Man 3 coming in 2027, and then 2029, bang, we got X-Men. We got a new IP in 2031, X-Men 3, weird, right? You've skipped 2. That must be the new IP. It must be X-Men 2. And then you've got a new IP in 2035. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's sort of around this as well. And there's a roadmap that's slightly different that would give you X-Men in 2028. So I think that hinges slightly on the consoles coming out and the console timing. But really interesting. I'm going to go to you, Umbra, because I know that you wanted an X-Men game. So, I mean, are you disappointed that you're not getting it on Xbox? Are you just happy that you're getting an X-Men game? Doesn't really matter where it is.
I guess I'm torn, right? Because I am happy that it's just a game that is being made and by one of the more preeminent developers out there in Insomniac. Absolutely, I'm happy about that. But yeah, I wanted an X-Men game. I thought that Microsoft would have been wise to associate Marvel and the X-Men brand with Xbox since the 360, the early days of the 360. So to me, I thought it was especially after we had like Ultimate Alliance and things like that, and X-Men Legends, I thought it would have made sense to really capture that. And at that time, I think not long after that, that's when the MCU kind of kicked in. I think right during the Xbox One era is when it really kicked in. But that would have been wise to me had they actually done that. I think it would have gone a long way to kind of getting Xbox more into that, I don't want to say the zeitgeist, but getting them more into the de facto console. Because typically people, in my opinion, when you think of gaming, they'll think of PlayStation first, or they'll think of Nintendo. Xboxes, unfortunately, it's not the de facto thought. And I think having a branding like Marvel will definitely go a long way to helping that. So I'm torn on it because I'm seeing it both ways. I'm happy that they're in the hands of a capable developer. And so I'm pretty sure it's going to turn out well. Although I did see some of the gameplay of Wolverine, and it did look reminiscent of Spider-Man in some ways. So I'm kind of hoping that they differentiate in some ways and kind of step out of that third person over the shoulder, God of War-esque style that they seem to have a template for over on the PlayStation side. But other than that, yeah, I'm happy with that. Just wish Microsoft would have stuck that first. But we have Blade, so it's a start.
Yeah, do you think it's the reason that Xbox went after an IP, or Arcane went after that IP, is because they knew that this was sort of coming?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I will say that what I've noticed with Phil and team is that they have a strong penchant for listening to us when we say, hey, we would like this thing. When we complained about wanting more Japanese or Asian-based, developer games on the console, what did they do? They went out there, they got partnership with 200 plus Asian developers. They brought in, P3 and all these Persona games and all these things and brought them straight to Game Pass. They brought Yakuza the entire series over. All these things that many of our Hoove brothers told us would never happen, we got over here now because they listened to what we told them. So one of the complaints was that we need the hero game. I remember Phil having that being discussed with him, that why don't you get any licensed, superhero games? So I think this just falls in line with the vision, or at least with the want and the desire from the fan base of us wanting to get that. And I think they listen to it. That, to me, I don't think any other publisher outside of Microsoft listens to their fan base as well as they do. So kudos to Microsoft for actually being on the ground floor, at least, and really paying attention to what the fan base asks for and wants. They have, and I think because of that, that's why we have such a crazy diverse, build for games coming from Microsoft right now, because they listen to the things we want, the desires we want. So, yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry, just Red Wolf in the chat there. Riskit, your beard is fire. I don't know, man. I think Kay's is pretty good as well. We could have a comparison. A beard off, a little bit more grey in mine.
Have a beard off.
Hashtag gray beards.
Kay, I'll jump to you. I mean, it's been a long time since Sony sort of released any details on what's coming down the line. And me personally, as a PlayStation owner, I've been questioning, what is the point? Why do I have my PS5? Should I just get rid of it? I don't know what's coming. There's nothing really for me. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan. I don't think Helldivers 2 is going to hold up the platform in the near future. I don't think that's going to be a reason for me to keep it. So it's good to see they got a roadmap. There's a lot coming. You excited for? I know you play everywhere, wherever you can. I do. Excited to see X-Men. Did you get a chance to check out the actual game as well?
I have not. No, I have not gotten the actual game. I know it's out there. I know somebody can go and get it. I might look into some places and see what I can find. I have not done that just yet. But first off, I do feel bad for Insomniac. This is unfortunate, right? I love Insomniac. I think they're one of the greatest developers out there. Like, they really are. Everywhere they've been, they leave behind amazing games. They used to do VR for a while. There's a bunch of great VR games that were made by Insomniac. They were on Xbox for a while. There's a bunch of games that are great made by Insomniac on Xbox, and now they're here as well. And I'm excited for what they will show, and I'm excited to see that they're going into the Marvel business. I am a bit of a hypocrite because I was the one railing on everybody when ABK had the salt mines of ABK of Call of Duty, and now we have the salt mines of Marvel, and I'm like, give me another one, please. It is what it is. I'm sorry. There it is. There's my bias showing. I will say to your point about why they skipped the third one, they're using Wolverine as X-Men 1, and then the one that's called X-Men as 2. And then X-Men 3 as the third. So like Wolverine will be the beginning of the X-Men trilogy, right? So I'm super excited to see that they have this going on. I'm super excited to see that they made good deals with Marvel. Now, what they paid for it, that may be another conversation we should have. Like that was eyebrow raising. What they paid for the license to be able to do this, and this whole time. Yourself and myself and a few of us, we always talk about how Sony has the leverage to have these negotiations because they have the license to the movie rights and all of this and that, and the amount of money they are paying to still use this rights to have all these IPs is staggering. It makes me wonder how much Microsoft is paying for Blade, right? It's super interesting stuff that's coming out. Although once again, I feel really bad for Insomniac. So, like the leaking of their roadmap and all of that, fine. But like source code, that's gonna ruin the timeline. That's gonna stop the game from coming out on time because now they have to go and change it just enough so that hackers can't take that source code and make something drastic out of it. Right?
I bet China's on it already, right, Kay? I bet China's on it already with the. I mean,
there's a vertical slice out there of X-Men or of Wolverine that you can play. That they can literally go in and supposedly modders are stitching together and completing, right? So they have the whole slate, including the back end, and you don't want that. If you release that product, that product will be riddled with bugs and viruses tomorrow because they have all of your data. So that might delay things. So that part really does suck.
Yeah, I wonder just to throw it out there to you guys, like. How much money do you think this is going to cost them? Like, would it cost people actually buying the game? You know what I mean? Like people on a PC, for instance.
Bruh, I'll be honest with you. From what I saw, I'm more excited now than I was when I first saw that trailer. That trailer was nothing. This is amazing. I cannot wait. You know why? Because they took the lessons of Raven. Yes, y'all heard me, Raven. I don't know if y'all remember. Until we saw this. The greatest Wolverine game ever made was by Raven Softworks. They of course were thrown later into the salt mines of Call of Duty. We already discussed that, but they made a great Wolverine game, right? Of their time, sure. It doesn't hold up by all accounts, but it was bloody enough. They had dismemberment, all this crazy jazz. This game looks like it lost the dismemberment, which is a little unfortunate, but by and large, it keeps the hard R nature of the character and of the world. So I don't think that this is sad at all. Like if it wasn't for the source code that was put out there and the personal data and stuff that will get hairy, I think this would excite the base more than worry them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I actually watched the first 25 minutes. Cutscenes obviously haven't been put together yet, and it's just storyboarded in there, but. I was pretty excited. I'm like, yes, you're absolutely right, Umbra. It does look very Spider-Man-esque, but I don't think it needs to. I don't think they need to push away from that. I think you make a good superhero game, and if you can build off that success, I don't think that's a bad thing. And who doesn't want to this looks like it's brutal. They're not messing around. It is a very, like you said, hard R. Blue, super excited about this one. Where are you at with the X-Men? I think you mentioned earlier in the week that it was very Spider-Man-esque. I personally don't take that as it's a bad thing, but where are you at with the look of it and the roadmap as well? Because I know that you have a PS5. You may as well throw out your PSVR too. We're probably not going to get a chance to talk about that, but That was a waste of money. But anyway, going back to the leaks.
You have to remind me of that. I got it. All right. I got it. It's kind of, this leak is weird, right? And especially with the way Kind of Funny handled it. And not just them, right? There were others, GameSpot, a few others that kind of just said they weren't going to cover any of it. But I feel like there's parts of this leak that are valid things to share, probably, and some of those things I understand and just really you shouldn't maybe report on. And the internet's there for a reason. Let people go find it, and if they want to see it, they can see it. But having said that, it is interesting to see all of this X-Men and Marvel stuff in their roadmap. The online components always being separate, which to me is really interesting that Sony decides to separate those from the main game. It seems like that's what they always do, right? Whereas we're used to games that traditionally package those more often together. I don't know if it drives engagement. I find that when I play a game and another portion comes a lot later, it's hard for me to want to go back to that universe. But maybe it works for them. Wolverine, I don't know. Anytime a game leaks, I take everything with a grain of salt because whatever you're seeing is almost never the finished product, right? We always know it's going to be a lot different. The context is going to be different. But what I did notice is I love Insomniac. I love Ratchet and Clank. I think they are just top tier studio. But I hate QTEs with a passion. Like, I almost don't want to play a game if it has QTEs. I want nothing to do with them. Insomniac does it as best as probably anybody could, but I still would prefer to have a game that didn't have that had a different play style, that had different mechanics. But having said that, of course, I'm going to get Wolverine. I didn't get Spider-Man because I don't really care about Spider-Man. But Wolverine is my jam. I think that Wolverine's a very interesting character.
Wow.
I don't.
She
like
buried the
Spider-Man.
lead.
That's
She doesn't care about Spider-Man. That's how we should have started this conversation. So why do you not like Spider-Man? Tell us about that.
You know, when I was a kid, I loved Spider-Man, but Tobey Maguire flipping ruined it, and Red Wolf is going to kill me.
Okay. How did Toby ruin it for you? What did he do?
He's a little bitch.
Mute.
It must have been Spider-Man 3 when he was dancing.
Is she muted? Oh,
I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
we can't hear. Yeah, we haven't got you.
We lost you.
Nope.
Nope.
So I hate Spider-Man because technical issues. We're gonna have them. We're gonna have. Hopefully you'll be back. Maybe dip out, dip back in. Pete, this is the same question I always. Are you back? Yeah. You're back. She's back. You there?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, she's back.
There you go.
She hit that mute button. Crazy mute button. Pete, the same question that I always ask you every time we get some significant leaks out of Sony. So I wanted to ask you this. I'm curious as to where you're at. Is this going to be the game that tips you? I mean, you saw the 25. I know you've seen the 25 minutes of footage. Is this the game that tips you over the edge? Is this the game that takes you to a PlayStation? Are you thinking about buying a PS5 for this game?
No, I'm Xbox through and through now. Although I think the game looks amazing. I really, really do. I watched that 25 minutes of footage that you sent, Risk, and I love it. I love the art style. I know they haven't colored in the cartoon yet, but I love the way they're telling the story. I think Wolverine looks great. Yeah, I think the game is going to be fantastic, and kudos to Sony. It took a leak for them to actually get a roadmap, but in saying that, it's just an Insomniac roadmap, and they are prolific at putting out games. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get Venom, Spider-Man, X-Men, a new IP. What is it, 5 or 6 games before 31? That's crazy, especially if they're going to be cutting down on the amount of people that are going to be working there. What stood out to me is everybody saying they're not going to be talking about the leaks. And I was just thinking about the absolute hypocrisy of that. Remember when hackers stole the Cyberpunk data? There was no one talking about not reporting on that. Everybody was reporting on it. So I don't know. I don't understand that whole thing about people not talking about it. Yeah. I do feel sorry for the people that are losing their jobs at Insomniac. I do want to say that as well. Getting that news around Christmas time is just terrible, especially with the amazing work that Insomniac Studio has been doing, really keeping the PlayStation 5 alive.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that, a little bit of that later. But I mean, just going back to what you were saying with the seeming difference between, you know, what the media will report on. I mean, kudos to IGN for actually reporting on this. But it seems a lot of content creators and the media don't want to report on this. For me, it's news, right? Obviously, there's people on the good side and the bad side of whatever news comes in, comes out, right? So, you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't think you should be censoring what it is that you're reporting on. You maybe censor what it is that you're talking about. I mean, we're not going to jump online, start showing, on a podcast, start showing people's passports. That's obviously not a thing that we're going to do. We're not going to show the leaks, but we're definitely going to talk about them. That just, to me, is huge amount of hypocrisy. And it really does ram home. This is what the Xbox tax is about. A lot of guys, even Colt Eastwood, great friend of mine, great friend of the channel. He doesn't believe in that Xbox tax. But I mean, I think if you, and I know Blue that didn't like the wording, but then sort of has the same view that the Xbox tax is more than just they're colluding in a cabal behind the scenes. None of that's happening. But obviously, the difference between, thank you all you guys subscribing, the difference between what they're reporting on for Xbox.
I was just about to ask, what the heck are these achievements popping noises?
Subscribers, man.
Yeah, I'll have to I'll turn that down a little bit. I know it gets a bit loud, but like the difference between them reporting on something that's leaked as bad news for PlayStation, the difference between reporting on it, and that's what it is, right? Bad news for Xbox, everyone's reporting on that. Mm-hmm. Bad news for Sony, it's not, morally we just can't do that. That to me is just absolute BS. So, I mean, we could definitely get into that. I mean, Kay, you've seen this in the media. I wanted to get into this because I think it's an injustice. Yeah. I think it's an injustice to the industry. I think it's an injustice to Xbox. I think it's an injustice to creators. Look, I'll be flat out and say I was disappointed in SkillUp that he wouldn't cover it straight off the bat. And I understand that you have connection to these guys. But I mean, you talk about guys like Idle Sloth. These guys cover the news. They don't discriminate. It's news. Cover it. If that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. Don't pick and choose. Okay. Yep.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I turn this on us and we as the colloquial we, the community, we put these folks, we make them our representatives by the nature of how much we follow them, by our subscriptions, and we put them on this pedestal, or they become the news, if you will. Right. And as some people have said to me on this, in chats before, with great power comes great responsibility. But that's something that you think, and they may not necessarily feel the same way. Right. So you put them there. And then in the example of somebody like a Greg Miller, he will say what he wants to say. He will choose what he chooses to cover at any point in time, and no one can stop that because he is not a news organization. People think he's a news organization. They thrust kind of funny into this annals of journalistic integrity place, but it's not. It's a bunch of guys who had fun on camera, who like to cover their passion, which is gaming news, right? I mean, the guy is in Spider-Man 1 and 2, literally in the game. What did you expect? I have no blame for the man for saying, look, these are my friends. I can't cover it. Now, what I would have done possibly was I will recuse myself and let my workers, my co-workers, the others cover it, right? I would not be the one to cover it. I'd let somebody else do it. But the fact that he refuses to speak on it, it's hypocrisy, sure, right? But he is not a news organization. It is you guys or all of us that make him turn him into a news organization by having such high and well, I wouldn't say unrealistic, because you do want that from your news organizations. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe it is time we should start focusing our energies and expecting this from better organizations, right? Expect what you can expect from Kind of Funny, which is they're there for entertainment. They come, they give you skits, they're jokes, they're funny, right? Hence Kind of Funny. If you want something of, if somebody is having a conversation where people are losing their jobs and there's a hacking and all of this information needs to be doled out to the community and everybody needs to be aware of full-fledged information, maybe theirs is not the site you should be going to, or their air is not where you should be going to for that information, because they have shown themselves to be not the place for that kind of stuff, right? And unfortunately, I actually have more of an issue with somebody like SkillUp, because until this scenario, sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I think he's off his rocker. But one thing I've always thought is that the man is above board. He's beyond reproach. He covers it, right? He'll give you his opinion on it, and sometimes I don't agree with him or whatever, but at least he will be straightforward with it, right? But like you're saying, Riskit, those are the scenarios where your hands get tied by, hey, if I cover it, will PlayStation put me on the naughty list, and then maybe I won't get access to the next thing? You know what I mean?
Access journalism.
Things,
That's what it is. I think it's a poison in the industry, like nail on the head right there. It's a problem with our industry. It's something that affects us all. Even affects content creators, and that we've managed to get access to specific things at specific times, both me and UK and Umbra and Blue and Pete. There's been opportunities for us to get access to things, but that should never affect what you cover and how you cover it. Yeah. That to me is
so hold on one thing. I see R.L. Stein in the chat asking a very poignant question, and I agree with you, sir. They ask, if they are not gaming media, then why do they get to vote on Game of the Year? I wholeheartedly 100,000% agree. Just because they get to vote for Game of the Year doesn't automatically make them gaming media. It makes the organizations that allows for non-gaming media to be part of the voting body. Maybe that's the problem, right? Yeah, all part of the issue, right? I mean, they are not gaming media. They don't adhere to those certain standards. He can pull whatever he wants to pull because it's his air, right? And that's always been the way it is, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't see a problem with it. I expected that from him. The guy is in the game. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean,
bias. Yeah.
Well, going back to, I'll jump to you in a second, Umbra, but going back to SkillUp, what you say, 110% true. Now, if anyone knows me, they know I'm a SkillUp shill, right? So much so that when Lord Cog dragged me out of, I was having a conversation. He's like, "Come with me right now," and pulled me around the corner, and we went up to the bar, and there's standing SkillUp. I'm such a shell and a little bit drunk that I picked that man up off the floor and I shook him in a big bear hug, and I was super excited. And the dude was, obviously, but I love the dude. SkillUp's amazing. He's an inspiration to me. But I am not going to pull punches when I say I think that his take was affected by access. Which
is very unfortunate.
It's disappointing to see that.
I actually really liked SkillUp's. I really like SkillUp's take.
Right.
I mean, look, what I thought he did was a happy medium. He just said, I'm not going to talk about certain things, but I will talk about all of this stuff. And I think there's an opportunity to talk about this. I'm just not going to do it exactly in this moment, but I am going to address, the business stuff and all of that. Right. And I thought it was fair. I don't know.
I didn't see his take.
I didn't say he was.
So Blue, he actually addressed it, or did he how did he cover it exactly?
Yeah, he did.
So he addressed it, and the way he addressed it was like he thinks it's, you know, obviously bad for developers, and then and he's sort of sad for them. And from that point, and he does the weekly roundup of all the news, right? And this is the biggest news. He did not cover it in that weekly roundup. He said he would obviously have to cover it going forward, right? Yeah, he said that. Like, obviously, these things are going to be news, and we're going to talk about them going forward. But right now, he didn't feel like it's the time. And look,
But he also called out the people who said they weren't going to cover it and said that that was disingenuous too. He said that there's a lot of news content here that is worthy of discussing and being here. So to just say you're not going to cover everything isn't the right path, given in the past you've covered the Capcom, you've covered the Suicide Squad, which just happened, you covered the Microsoft leaks they did themselves over the summer. There's plenty of history here to go back and say documents have been leaked and covered. So you can't just now say I'm going to cover any of it. He did do that. He called all of that out, and in a polite way, but said, this isn't. I understand why you're doing it, but to set a different precedent now is disingenuous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't completely as egregious as I think Greg Miller's. And again, Greg, I understand from Greg, and I completely agree with Kay's take. Step back, then. If you can't cover it, step back and let Bless jump in there and do it. Because, I mean, I posted a stark contrast tweet earlier in the week of Bless covering the Xbox leak, more than happy, and he thought it was funny. Like, he was laughing and joking and thought it was great. And then when it comes to the PlayStation side of thing, it's a somber mood. Look, in my opinion, it's double standard access journalism bullshit. That's to me 110%. And it is not.
I agree.
It is obvious.
I agree.
Yeah, like brutally obvious, and it shouldn't and it should be called out. And that, look, I mean, we've had this
Even
conversation. Yeah.
Blessing said that he thought it was a mistake.
They dedicated an hour show to the Cyberpunk leaks when they happened. Exactly the same thing. Before the game came out, the hackers stole the data for Cyberpunk, the Cyberpunk game. They asked for a ransom. The ransom wasn't paid, and they dedicated an hour show towards it. I mean, I just don't understand the difference. The hypocrisy is so stark when you put it that way.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, my thing on it is I haven't seen skill ups. I will say this though, knowing how much of a shield you are for skill up, if you're saying that risk, it must have some validity to it. So I know that if you feel that way, he must have covered it in a way that you really didn't care for. So, because I know you love that dude, but I haven't watched it, so I have to check it to see. I'm sure Blue has a point on that as well. I have to see, but I will say just on Greg Miller and Kind of Funny, Kay and you covered it exactly right, and we talked about that yesterday in detail on the show. And shout out to Post Up. I mean, he was preaching, man, and he obviously it's obvious about access journalism. It's obvious that he got close ties to Brian Ethidar. I forgot his last name, Intithar. So I forgot how to say it, but he has ties to them. Intihar, thank you. He has ties to him. He's been in both Spider-Man games, the first one and then now this one. So I get it. I get why he, feels that he can't cover it the exact same way. But it's hypocrisy to sit there and act like, oh, we can't do this to poor Insomniac when you were gleeful in covering everything else. You were gleeful when we saw it. And the bad thing is this wasn't that long ago. We had tons of leaks this year. So you don't have to go back far to hit you with a this you. So we had tons when Microsoft, you know what I mean? Like typically the this you comes back after years or months or but now it's been just a couple of weeks sometimes for a leak that hit. So Capcom in particular was major. That was a lot. And they the guy on there, Tim, when he talked with Blessing, He tried to hand wave that as if it was not significant. Like, oh, it wasn't as egregious. Yes, it was. It was just about as egregious, if not more. So then what happened to Insomniac here? You had the issue with Microsoft and the documents and everything that leaked. That was pretty egregious. That was a lot. At the time, all of us thought it was not even thought, all of us saw it as the biggest leak in gaming history. All of us. Mm-hmm. So to sit there and act like, oh, that's fine to cover that, and they did, and there are timestamps for this, and there are images, there are videos and clips out there put on Twitter of them gleefully covering it, laughing the whole way through. To say that and then be like somber and, we're going to focus on the human element. It's like, stop it. Stop it. You just stop. You know that you're not, it's just, you're just standing on a soapbox at this point. I don't really believe your take on this, outside of you having ties to the people at Insomniac. And listen, there's no shade to Insomniac. We love Insomniac, all of us here. They're great developers. I don't want this to happen to them. I hate that it happened to them too, and for their information to be put out there and doxed the way they have been. I've been doxed, so I know how that feels. So I can imagine, they had much more sensitive information than put out there. But I think there is a thing between sensitive information being put out and us being too sensitive to cover it, and that's the problem with Kind of Funny in their hypocrisy here. And also, I'm just going to say this. It lends the problem with that same thing that happened with the Game Awards and how they snubbed Hogwarts. To me, and I said this yesterday, it goes hand in hand with us having this thought of this Xbox tax. And it goes back to the feeding of bias. You know what I mean? Because that's all it is. It's a bias on how you cover what you cover. It's PlayStation and it's Insomniac. Okay, we're going to give them kid gloves. We're going to handle them nicer than we would anybody else. Oh, it's Xbox. Oh, this is what happened. This is it. Oh, Xbox dropped the ball here. You see what I mean? It's a bias in how they present what they present. And that's ultimately what that Xbox tax is to me, and how they do what they do. And this just leads more to that. You know what I mean? That's the problem also. So I just think it's hypocrisy at the end of the day, and they know it. And Greg, when he was getting called out on it left and right by everybody, you had some content creators try to stand up with him. You're doing the absolute right thing. I was like, just cut it out. Cut it out. He's not going to invite you on the show, brother. Just stop. But yeah, I saw some. I called one out. I didn't want to get too far into it, but listen, it's a tough situation. I just don't think. I think trying to grandstand on I'm not going to cover it is silly ultimately, because we're all going to get this information one way or another. You cannot escape it. You're on Twitter. If you're online, you're going to see it. It's impossible. The only thing we could do is in how we respectfully do it, not showing specific slides and images and things, but talk about it. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, bro. Like how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not up here. No, you're good to go, man. We're not up here like, showing, the first 25 minutes. That's not what we're about. We're not up here showing, people's details. But there's so much in this leak that, like, regardless of whether Greg says that, he's got, later they're going to be talking about it. They're going to reference this. There's roadmaps. There's there's PowerPoints sent from Insomniac to Sony. There's license terms and agreements. There's absolutely everything has come out of this, and there's so much to talk about. And unfortunately, you guys in the chat, it's going to be a big talking about PlayStation. We're doing exactly what the ponies do. We're talking about their platform. It's what they normally do with us, to talk about our platform. And
there's so much more to come on this point, I think, and it's like how much data was taken, like 1.67 terabytes of data. It's going to take a while to sift through all of that stuff. I think we're going to be hearing about these leaks for a long time to come.
That's a good point, actually. And like Riskit pointed out, you pointed out earlier, the whole Spider-Man 2, what's the word I'm looking for here? The
source code.
The source code, thank you. That's out there. So people on the PC are going to have that soon. Somebody's already had a tweet about, downloading it already, the files for that. So that's about to happen. Like you pointed out earlier, Kay, people were modding Wolverine already. I saw Scarlet Witch being put into the game. It's like, sheesh, these guys don't rest. So that's crazy. And Serve made a good point in the chat. I just wanted to highlight where, and I've seen other people point this out. They said now moving forward, it puts kind of funny in a really weird spot, right? In a sticky situation, as he put it. How do they cover leaks going forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly that. And as soon as they cover the next leak, they're going to get called out, especially if it's Greg. And I guarantee you they pull Greg. They do what they should have done with this is pull Greg away from it. But we do need to move on. We've got a couple of super chats to get to, and then we've got to cover more of this leak because it's just some interesting stuff all throughout this thing. So you died Quizada with a $2 super chat. Absolute champion, moderated the show. Great guy. You see him everywhere. He is a legend. He said, they get stellar cheeks and we get stellar blade. Geek Channy with the $2 super chat. He says, what is this fraud? Pete and Umbra not on video? Yeah.
If you squint your eyes really, really small, like really small, you'll see us.
No.
Red Wolf with a $5 super chat. He says, so much backpedaling. Greg just needs a circus tent and a unicycle, and he will have reached a new form. Find out on the next episode of Greg and Ball Z. Yeah, look, it's hypocrisy, man.
Dragon.
And I don't know.
Did you miss any Risk? Did you miss any?
I might have missed one. Yeah, I think I double pasted one. But look, it is hypocrisy, 110%. He said, Red Wolf with a $2 super chat said, hey, Umbra, get a camera. Thanks.
Oh, that's the one I saw. But I was being peer pressured by everyone in the chat. That's what it was.
Look, guys, they'll come to the camera in their own time. When they're ready, they'll rock and roll. But it's every man's choice, and I'm definitely not I'm not going to pressure the guys to jump on camera. I'll let you do that. So please continue.
As soon as I get on camera, I'm getting on the camera butt naked to get the show canceled. That'll teach you.
No, we just do it on Twitch. We just do it on Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
They love that.
It's art. It's art.
Yeah,
Artistic, yes.
Yeah. Look, the next thing I wanted to jump into, and this is like, and I wish I could bring this up on screen, but OBS is playing up on me, so it's not allowing me to go to my second screen, which I normally have set up. Now, this is a sort of a roadmap of how PlayStation wants to roll going forward. So it's a little bit detailed. I'm going to quickly go through it, and I'll copy and paste this to you guys in the chat. Oh, I don't know if I can. It might. I don't know if I can. Let me just see if it'll let me do that. Oh, it absolutely ruins everything if I do that, so I won't do that. I'm just still learning the faux pas of Discord, but we'll get there. So PlayStation, they have a sort of a roadmap going forward. It looks very similar to what Xbox has already done. Now, we've been saying this is the direction that they're headed in, and it's very third-party-esque, I must say. So what we'll do is, we'll go back and that works. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. All right. So, PlayStation Plus, they're looking at bringing it to a Fire TV, Bravia, Android TVs, iOS, and Windows, and they're basically looking to stream all of their platform through PlayStation Plus onto every device. Sound similar? Anyone? They're adapting their content strategy. Now, this is like a full layout of what they're planning to do. So they're looking to release their games earlier on PC. They're looking to target kids and families, gaming culture participants. Can we make the most of rewarding and valuable way to participate in the game of the moment, whichever that may be? So I'd say that you see more engagement on Twitter. Who does that sound like? And leveraging partners to scale. So they're talking about subscription leaders. Can we partner with media and other subscription providers to scale out our offerings for both console owners and off console? Does that sound like Microsoft when you get your little perks every week? You join Spotify. Third-party gaming subscriptions. Can we partner and drive engagement through ongoing benefits with those guys? look, I could go through more of this, but very basically, this is the Xbox roadmap that we've been seeing rolled out since about 2018, and I have to laugh because look, I made and also off the back of the numbers, I made a video months ago about AAA development and how it's not sustainable in the way that it is being operated now, and this is just being borne out in the numbers and the adaptation of Xbox's roadmap or plans, the way that they're operating. PlayStation's seen this and they're like, this is the pivot we need to make. We've been saying this for since the show started, right, guys? We've been literally saying that PlayStation needs to do this and that we think they will. Yep. And lo and behold, here it is, man. The proof is in the pudding. I'll also read out something else that Insomniac sent to PlayStation as basically a PowerPoint of their concerns. It says the industry's major shifts and threats. The Call of Duty threat 2027, Microsoft's acquisition of ABK for 69, could disrupt and threaten the console gaming and game subscription markets. Console shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. Subscription, Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates a greater dominance. Sony impact, massive threat to PS Plus, upwards of 1.5 billion of annual revenue threatened. A gap to fill. 45 million subs times $12 monthly times 12 months times 20%. I'm not sure what the MP is. Oh, MP third party. So they have looked at everything that Xbox is doing, and with the acquisition of ABK, they have become a very serious threat. Another thing that we have been saying for a very long time. Pete, I'm going to jump to you because we've been talking about this for a long time, saying that PlayStation needs to start basically changing their model in how they operate. And it's great to see that they're doing it, but interesting to see that everything that we've been saying, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's crazy that Spider-Man 2's money that it costs to make the game is 3 times higher than Spider-Man 1. I find that very, very strange. I think the cost of games has just gone up exponentially, and I don't think it's sustainable. I really, really don't. So I'm glad that they've actually come to this realization. I think they should have come to it sooner. I was talking about this with Monad yesterday. How did Spider-Man 2 cost 3 times what Spider-Man 1 costs when they already had the base game already down? They had the
It's compulsion.
compulsion.
So apologies for that. We lost the audio. I still haven't. Yeah, I still haven't sorted that audio out. But Pete was making the point that Pete was making the point that if PlayStation don't shift the way that they develop, we're going to be seeing remaster after remaster and remake after remake. True, because we have. Kay, I'm going to jump to you as well. Like, this is something I've been passionate about. I know that AAA can't survive off the back of just pumping money into a massive game and getting minimal profits out. The math don't math. So there's got to be a shift. There's got to be a change. And I think we're seeing that with PlayStation, which is good. But I also think there's other things that they can do, like making smaller titles, making subscription deals. There's lots of things that you can do to sort of offset the cost of gaming. But to see PlayStation sort of pivot in this way, I mean, personally, I think it's a positive. It is something I think they should have done earlier, right?
So yeah, I agree with you. I also agree that, as the kids say, the energy must be kept. You have to keep the same energy. Where's the talks of, hey, where's the mismanagement articles and all of that? Because I feel like, you know, with Insomniac's leak and with what do you call it, Naughty Dog's cancellation, there's a lot of conversation of them, fair criticism of them not thinking things through, you know, like getting things over, pushing things over their skis, as it were, a little bit. They go far in, waste time, effort, and then decide to pivot and change later, which is a fair criticism to make, because that's been a criticism of Xbox for a while, that they weren't sure of the vision, and it looks now like PlayStations might not be sure of their vision, right? But I do agree with you that they are looking in a more positive direction, right? We've all, like you said, I've said it many times. Don't listen to what Jim and any of them said. Look at what Microsoft did a few years ago. That'll tell you the roadmap of what PlayStation will do, and we see it now in black and white, right? We see it in print, right? The only shoe that's left to drop is day and date on PC, which will come because they are fools leaving money on the table like that. You know, the troglodytes in the console market who think that devalues their hardware will just have to get over themselves. It just is what it is. There's too much money to be made. They're talking about potentially trying to raise prices to $80 and then wait for a year and potentially try and charge people the same amount of money for the same game a year ago. Like, there's no way you can charge someone $60 or $70 for a game that's a year old, but day and date release. Now you can charge everybody the same price, right? And the PC people won't complain. You know, you wait a year and then try to charge them that $70, and they'll tell you to go pound sand, and that's just the way it'll be. And Sony's realizing that, you know. So I personally think that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, as I say,
Please.
you wait a year and they pirate it, right? Wasn't like 47% of the Spider-Man 2 players pirated?
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So no, I completely think that this is a right direction move. I just think they need to stop. They need to stop handling their consumers, right? What was it? How long ago did Phil Spencer sit on the couch and say, "Look here, for all intents and purposes, console exclusives are done now. They're all going to go on PC." And all the Xbox people looked at each other and went, "Are they going to be on Game Pass day one?" Okay. And then they moved on. Right?
That's all.
For some reason,
all we needed to know.
That's right, right? For some reason, Sony is not willing to have that hard conversation with their public and say, "Look, y'all," they've even said that y'all are not enough part, but they refuse to then pull the trigger and say, "Okay, so day and date on PC," right? They need to do that. Doing that will give them the money they need to stop laying people off. It's that simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing they need to do, they need to stop being children about it. Spider-Man 1 was an $80 million budget. That is not small change. That's a AAA budget. Cap the budget. Let the next one be $80 million. And the next one after that be $80 million. Oh, if that means your scope has to be rejiggered your damn scope. Why must your developers dictate how much money comes out of your butt? Like, get out of here. No other industry is that allowed. Right, I've said this before. Look at television series, for example. The first season, they let you throw all your money you want at it. Right, the next season, you're expected to do the same amount of talent, less money after that. The next season, less money after that. The next season. Why? Because you set the budget, then it becomes optimization. Okay, well, we can automate in this way, so we can take some money out. All of this. People are scared to death about AI. This is what will bring AI about, because you keep squeezing them and expecting so much more from them, and then squeezing them and expecting so much more from them. They're going to have to supplement it with a tool in order to sustain, right? We see their roadmap. They are squirting out games left and right. And we all know that Insomniac is prolific, but if you keep doing that, and oh, by the way, there's also more more layoffs coming, what do you expect? Eventually, AI will take over because they have to still sustain. They have to keep the cadence, right? They're not gonna. Because we lost people now, it's not gonna happen. Absolutely. So while I think this is all a very good idea and they're heading in a good direction, my first thing is they need someone at the top with some kind of vision that can sit there and talk to the public in a way that really helps them understand that the time of the old PlayStation has now come and gone, and we need to move to a new play so that they can sustain and continue to be there, right? They need new vision. They need a new spokesperson, right? If they're not going to bring Yoshida to the big table, which that would be my play. I would want them to bring Yoshida back to the big seat, right? Get somebody else. Hey, I hear Bobby K needs a job. It is what it is.
We need a new brand of toxicity.
Or I hear Lulu Cheng needs a job. I mean, get somebody in there that can talk to the people. I'm sorry.
Don't give them any ideas on that one now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, they need to have that hard conversation. They need to make sure that PlayStation people understand that from now on that, we're gonna keep you happy by like leaving money on the table on the PC side for a year and a half. That's no bueno. That does not bring food to the table. We need to be able to collect a check everywhere day one, right? And y'all need to understand that. Now, maybe they mea culpa by saying in 6 months, see what I did there, 6 months, not gonna be day and date because they don't do that, but maybe 6 months, you then get it in your game, your subscription service, right? You say that to a console player, maybe that gives them the, okay, well, that's cool, I'll hold on and either buy it day one if I want, or in 6 months it becomes part of the subservice. But you got to do something, right? It can't just be status quo and insisting that they are greatness, and as such you can't change anything anymore. That's not getting them where they need to go. Clearly,
there is news allegedly out there because of the leaks where they say that with the Wolverine is supposedly supposed to launch on the PS5 and the PC day and date. What do you think about that?
Now that would be
about 2026 right there, right? 2026, I think, that would land. Oh, yeah. So the news, K. Asante.
No, don't do this. Don't do this. You're going to make me get out of the show. What are you doing?
It's too late, K. Just play into it. Yeah. So
I feel like going, well, the news job turkeys.
Let me tell you something. You come straight out of a
Let me tell you something. Oh man.
Man, you come.
Give me a minute. Let me go get my pimp hat real quick. No, I'm sorry.
Now I gotta talk like a pimp. Let me check my palm pilot.
Oh no,
but seriously.
a pimp named Slickback is coming. All right, go ahead.
No, but seriously, there is rumor about that because of Wolverine. Now they're saying it might go day and date. So I think it's something that they like. We're gonna lose K. they don't want to lose you to chat. No, I think though that it's something that our Hoove brothers have to get over. It's silly to actually. Oh no, Riskit. What did you do?
Wow.
Oh, somebody said pimp hat. So I was like, Australia?
It means something completely different in Australia. I'm sorry.
Damn. Sorry.
That looks like a wizard sombrero hat right there. I don't know.
Wizard sombrero.
Wizard sombrero. Like you're going to cast a spell and throw a quinceañera at the same time.
I'll not pass.
With
these tacos.
Dancing. So, yeah. But no, seriously, there is rumor of that. But I think that our Hoove brothers on the other side in the stables, they're going to have to get over the notion of this exclusivity just on PlayStation thing, right? And they have it bad. I've seen them. They'll argue it down. I've seen them have like really volatile reactions to people alluding to the games landing on PC. And it's something I think on the Xbox side we got over relatively fast. I think
absolutely.
So I think that's what it is.
And I will leave it at this. Okay, the one thing that they will learn that will then move the ball forward is you guys are now talking about a means to an end. The platform is where you play your games. How you play your games may change, right? Just like on Xbox's side, some people are playing it solely on handheld. Some people are playing it on PC. Some people are on the console wherever they are, or on cloud or whatever. PlayStation will slowly transition that way, and then use the box to be an entry point into the platform. The minute that happens, fanboys will have new talking points, and it'll be about, well, it's just a means to an end. It's just an entry point into the platform that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Until then,
I can see it. I just, but like you said, though, it's like PlayStation is harming themselves at this point. I do wonder though, like, how much would it help them to put it day and date versus hurt? Because we did see the situation where, as far as the services goes, at least, where they put Horizon into the service and it cost them like $85 million or something like that, right? So I just wonder how that will look for their overhead.
It's a different scenario for them than it is for Xbox, right?
Yeah.
It always has been. They have trained their consumers to be that way. Greatness that cannot be put in a subservice, right? So the minute you do, you basically negate your own message. It's time to start training them differently. In the Xbox ecosystem, since everyone knows that most of the first parties will come day and date, you're okay buying DLC. You're okay, continuing the story with a deluxe edition or whatever. People bought how many versions of the deluxe edition in Starfield, even though it comes in the subservice, right? You got to let people have that option instead of training them that, oh, this is bad and this is the only way. Because then you're spiting yourself. Because the minute you do that, they will give you exactly what you're expecting. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
There's no doubt that surprised me. The fact that so many people went out and bought special edition Starfield, editions, knowing that it was going to Game Pass. The game sold incredibly well on Xbox. And now it was always going to do well on PC because I think Bethesda's crowd is drawn to that with the mods and things like that. But definitely surprised me. I got FOMO and I bought the edition so I could get it 3 days early. I'm pretty sure all of us did. That game was hyped up to be something very, very special. Shame it didn't get Game of the Year nominations. I personally think it should have gotten there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes with that, I mean, I'm torn on it because, again, I came down to an 85, right? So I think in the year we had, I can see why it didn't. But yeah, I guess it's to be seen what they'll build with it when it comes to that. But just getting back to the whole general discussion of PlayStation aping Microsoft style when it comes to that, I think it's just funny, man. We talked about this the other day too, and I pointed out that during Microsoft, they have this weird penchant, and I think you all can agree, where they'll be ahead of their time when it comes to inventions innovation, and they'll probably get flack for it. Like during the Xbox One gen, when they came out with the thoughts they had, and a lot of the forwarding of how gaming would be handled, they were demonized for it. But now it's an everyday standard now with gaming.
Yep.
So and you look at this now, and Sony is also following suit again.
Yeah, man. Microsoft have been ahead of their time when it comes to a lot of things, like putting in the cable in the back of the original Xbox, the Xbox Live. They weren't the first to have a subscription service, but they really elevated it to another level, having day and date. And I think a lot of this stuff just gets pushed aside as nothing, but they really have been driving the industry forward, where PlayStation have just stagnated. I mean, they are so reluctant to even go day and date with PCK, which we were talking about earlier, and I think it'll offset a lot of the people losing their jobs. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? So yeah, I think all that stuff's incredibly important. But Riskit's not here, but I did.
I am here.
And this isn't in. I don't think it's in the topic.
He's back now.
But I wanted to talk about Lulu Chen and her leaving, because I think that is a big loss for Microsoft. I loved her energy that she brought throughout the whole court case. I thought she did an amazing job. Her passion was oozing. And Risk, you were talking about with I think the other day, and you were saying that this isn't the energy that Microsoft want going forward. They want to be all kumbaya, but I think her combative nature really shone through during that court case, and I think she's going to be a really big loss.
Yeah. I mean, I did have her on the. It is on the docket to sort of talk about that. Let me just do the super chats real quickly, and guys, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. We go live at 7 p.m. EST every Friday. And if you're in Australia, it's 11 a.m. on the East Coast and 8 a.m. on the West. From Udani Quazada, he said Greg will be added as an NPC who licks Logan's boots. Need that button. Happy Bomb says, I love seeing you guys. I miss your faces, Riskit and Holly. Thank you, Happy Bomb. You're an absolute champion. She was over there with us at FanFest and is an absolute legend. We miss your face too. Right, Holly? Right. The benefits of camera. Jump into that. But yeah, look, so she is leaving ABK on January 31st. So what I said about this and sort of my thoughts on Lulu leaving is that she's extremely tenacious. She doesn't hold back. She will come out and happily will attack people on Twitter with righteous smoke, as she does, as Kay likes to say. And I think she's a significant loss. This is the kind of tenacity I'd like to see from Xbox. I would like to see them come back and hit back at those that deserve it. They very much have Microsoft very much has a quieter way of going about things. And yeah, look, to me, it's a massive loss. And I don't know why they would let her go. I mean, obviously, there's probably positions in the company that are already held by Microsoft members, but I see this as a humongous loss. And I was pretty disappointed to see that she was leaving. I mean, how did you feel about Holly seeing Lulu Cheng as she sort of carried us through with, little bits of information and the memes and all that stuff that happened throughout the case? I think she was great. She was great for Activision. She was great for Xbox. And yeah, it's just really sad to see her go, really.
I was really surprised to see her announcement. I absolutely adore her. I think she was such a fresh breath of air in everything that was going on. She had a good perspective. She was spicy. She didn't take anything on the chin. She fought back and was always just a really good, source of inspiration, I guess you could say, during the trial and all of the stuff that was happening. And every time I reply to her comments and things, she always responds, and she just I think she had a lot of public eye on her, and I think that a lot of people really like her. And so I am super disappointed to see that Microsoft and Xbox didn't find a way and to specifically bring her on and put her in a place where, she could still keep with that engagement that she's built with the community. She's super smart.
Absolutely. And she could do some good. And as a communications go, she was not afraid to say, just come out with the truth. And that's just refreshing to see.
It was marketing 101, wasn't it? Taking what was already in the sphere, through the court case and using it to your advantage. It was brilliant how she handled everything. And yes, it was competitive, but I think Xbox needs a little bit of that. They need to push back on some of the narrative. I mean, think of when PlayStation did This Is How You Share a Game on PlayStation 4. That was brilliant. And I think Xbox, hasn't been doing that enough.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Umbra, sad to see Lulu walk out the door.
Yeah, almost started singing a sad song for Lulu. Like, don't you go nowhere, girl. I just need to
Let's hear it.
K.
Let's do it.
Queen Lulu. Girl, I need you to come back.
You gotta cut it out, man.
Umbra needs like four buttons on the soundboard to communicate different levels of whatever it is that he's gonna sing.
I think so.
Riskit. This is a 2 moment. And it's a 4 moment.
Yeah, I need something for R&B type, something slow in R&B.
That's right.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
That's,
Something like something Boys to Menish
Like
would have
Love
been
Me
perfect right
Sexy
there.
from Semi-Pro. Remember that Love Me
Exactly.
Sexy song?
Oh yeah. No, but Lulu was the ish. I really did like Lulu. Honestly, I felt sorry to see that. I woke up to that news and I was like, no. But I
Yeah.
get that we all knew, I think, that they were going to downsize, because you're bringing in so many people. I'm going to say this too. Be prepared to hear about thousands laid off next year. We're going to hear more of that. So it's going to happen. You're bringing in a super major conglomerate like, ABK. It's going to happen. So I did feel a little way about it because to me, Lulu and Post made a great point about this the other day. He said it was very pivotal. She was very pivotal rather, during the whole trial situation, where she pointed out something we didn't know. And do you all remember when she posted on her Twitter that Jim Ryan was like, "No, I don't want to sign the contract. I want the deal to fail." Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Now it might not be
that was pivotal.
necessarily the exact words. It was very pivotal, and I remember journalists jumping on it, like Tom Warren and everybody, quickly jumping on that. It was like, wait a minute, was this said verbatim by blah blah blah? Did you hear it, etc.? She's like, yes, in the meeting, I was there. He said,
her Twitter.
I think all of that.
The feed that you stayed glued to during that whole trial.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, absolutely, and I think she was so entrenched into that whole situation. I think it just really elevated her into our hearts. You know what I mean? And I hate to say it so cheesily that way, but that's what it was. As she was, and like Blue pointed out, she was very like this aggressive type that you don't normally see in suits, right? So I think it also we vibe with that because she talked like we talked. And I think that was something we're just unused to seeing. So it really endeared her to us as far as it goes to that. And they had the memes and all that she would put out with the little glasses and all that. She was funny, or is funny. I don't want to sound like she's not here with us anymore, but I think she's just really dope. And I do hope that she lands on her feet. However, I will disagree with our brother Kay. I hope that she does not land on her feet over a PlayStation. Don't want that. Look, hey, if she lands over there, Kay, I'm gonna be like, Lulu, come back.
Oh no.
You can blame it all on me.
He had to go off camera. He couldn't take it.
No,
Too
my
much.
camera's acting up.
That was too much.
That's actually a good point, though. I wonder if it has something to do with corporate culture too, right? Because Xbox and Microsoft all very lobbying and don't like being
Blue,
and they don't.
You're turning into a robot. Yeah, you're turning into a robot. Could be the internet.
All right, I'll just sit here and talk. Annoying.
Well, hang on.
I had a good point. Dang it. It's all
I think I
right.
knew. I think I know where you were going. I think
I got my
you were going with.
computer from the rest.
Not only was she fantastic at that whole, she's also a gamer. She did cosplay, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely think that I think she's going to be a big loss. She wasn't just a suit. She did feel very much like one of us, and very disappointed to see her go. Bobby Kotick, on the other hand, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, why am I turning into a robot now? Sorry.
My bad. I was
Look
also
at Kay's
turning
face. Did you see Kay's face? What's funny is
Amateurs.
I turned around to the screen the exact same way. Like, what the hell is that? Are we under attack from
What are we
Cybertron
doing right now? You know what I'm saying?
We're all bots. We're all bots here. Blue, I think you're probably having some internet issues. Might be able to dip out, dip back in, and see if it reconnects better. Discord does that sometimes.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was going to say though, I think I know what point she was about to make when she was talking about the culture of the the suits. Yeah, the corporate culture.
Well, Activision's versus Xboxes, right? Because Kotick doesn't play games, right? And they have a different way of branding, messaging, all of that, right? Xbox is very nice. Activision very aggressive. Maybe she wasn't found to that because I don't think she's aggressive or rude with what she does, but she's bold. And that might not necessarily fit what they want, which is really sad because I think that we could use a little bit of that in there. But I'm gonna pop out and come back.
Yeah, I think I caught most of that.
Any of that.
Yeah, I caught most of it. I think she's she was just saying that she was bold. She didn't sort of push anything beyond any points that were that you would say inappropriate, but I think she is tenacious is the word. She just says it how it is, and that's refreshing to see. And it's pretty sad to sort of see her go. I do want to pivot to another conversation, and before I do, I think we got a couple more. Nope, we don't.
Hey,
we
Riz,
got
let me
Holly
read
back.
that. I found the quote exactly.
Yeah,
the exact quote was, I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger. That's what Jim Ryan said during the meeting that she reported on. And it was very pivotal at that moment because, again, it was covered massively by the press after she did it. And I think that all fed into people going into the trial too. Just seeing how Jim Ryan and Sony didn't seem to want to come to the table, no matter how fair Microsoft was being to them.
Yeah, and I think it definitely made a difference to the case because you'd have to be crazy to HTB Films era 404. You'd be crazy just to think that the judge didn't see all of this happening. I mean, she got tagged I don't know how many times. So all of this would have fed into the case. 110%. Look, I do want to pivot to something else because there's a fair bit that came out, and there's so much more with the Insomniac leak as well that I did want to cover, and we might jump back to that depending on time. But this is actually a pretty important thing, I think, that's happening for the gaming industry that dropped pretty much just before we went live. China has announced new rules to limit the encouragement of spending in online video games, spooking investors in two of the world's largest publishers. News of the limits wiped out a combined $80 billion of value from Tencent and NetEase. I think last count, Tencent lost about $54 billion. Now, these guys have fingers in a lot of pies. They've got 10% stake in Ubisoft, 5% stake in Ubisoft, 10% stake in Epic. They've got stakes all over the place. They've got a fairly decent sized stake from memory in Embracer. This is not going to help their case. So this is sort of huge. It's not great for Western publishers, but it's also, in my view, not a horrible thing. The gaming restrictions that they have put in place, I think, are a little restrictive, and I will find those. I did have them earlier on, and I will find those again. But I don't want to see Tencent buying up stakes in anything. I don't want them, a company that's at the behest of China and things like this happening, to just completely tank studios, which could happen. They've got stakes in From Software, in Remedy. So this is a concern for me. The more that these guys buy into the market, and then the fact that they're governed by who they're governed by, I don't want to get overly political, is a little bit scary for gaming, in my view. And just at a whim, we can see the Chinese government can make rules that are clearly going to tank the market, and have a real effect. And at the moment, with the stakes that they have in these gaming companies, it's obviously not going to be as bad as it could be, but it could get a hell of a lot worse. So
there's definitely a reason why Tencent are buying into foreign companies and they're not focusing on China, because no company survives in China without the backing of the government. They have a symbiotic relationship with any of their businesses. But I do like this because, for a long time, Hollywood and now gaming is trying to focus on the growth in the Chinese market, and And the government over there can just kill it with.
Yeah, in seconds.
Well, I think you should focus on other markets. I think India would be a perfect example of that, and more focus on that kind of market. This has happened before, but Risk. And when they did, I think they limited the amount of time that I think kids under the age of 18 were allowed to game. It also tanked the market then. They're doing the same thing now. So there is precedence for this. And yeah, look, I just worry about the Chinese government putting their fingers into an industry that we all love.
Yeah, right. And it has a knock-on effect, which is, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, especially when it comes to Embrace It, because they're already very much on their knees. Kay, you probably saw this drop just before the show, and I know we didn't really have a chance to sort of put it in topics, but there's a good side to this and sort of a bad side. I would be very hesitant were a gaming company to allow a stake in my company from companies like Tencent and NetEase. What are your thoughts on the restrictions and the likely knock-on effect that we're going to see? You're muted.
There we go. Now you can hear me. Yeah, like you were saying, it just dropped right before the show, so we really haven't had a chance to dig into the details. But I agree with you that it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't want these government bodies like putting their fingers into our gaming pie that we enjoy so much. What it brings to the forefront for me personally is that gaming, whether we like it or not, is a big for-profit entity, right? And more as Microsoft and a few others buy into it, and they make really big purchases, and people are very much now aware of its existence. There needs to be better governing bodies that regulate it. The agency that decides on whether it's rated R or rated MA or rated E, that's not enough. Because it is an industry there where $70 billion can be spent. So much so the regulatory bodies are now eyeballing them. I don't know if you saw that the French are imposing a $13 million fine on PlayStation for putting their thumb on the scales on controllers, the third-party controllers on the PS4. Like, the floodgates are open now, right? Because of this ABK deal, for better or worse, all these other regulatory bodies now have their eyes open to the fact that gaming is a big money pit, right? And everybody wants to get a piece of that. So to me, I see all of these things happening as it's time for those leaders in gaming to get their act correctly, because if they don't, then these other government bodies come in and they can put the thumb on the scale, and there's nothing you can do about it. Right? Because if there's no rules of the game already, then China can just impose and nobody can say anything. But if there are rules that everyone is following, that everyone's abiding by, that we can all agree are safe for children, safe for gambling, all the things that people worry about, right? If they make a concerted effort to at least put some kind of things in place to assist in that realm, then you can push back someone like China when they go, oh, well, we're imposing this or we're imposing that. But right now, it's the Wild West. Anyone can do whatever they want. And as such, these guys are coming with their heavy-handed tactics. And what are you going to do about it? It's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I'll say, and add to that, I found the restrictions, I don't think that they're egregious, to be honest. And I think they're probably something that...
No.
Games can no longer offer daily rewards for logging in. They're stopping games from encouraging players back the day after so encourage them from stopping them from coming back every day to gain streaks.
Yeah,
something that Microsoft does with rewards, by the way. There's also limits to how
people who think that might be a little draconian or whatever need to know that the game companies literally hire psychologists to come and And how often must we press this button? How bright must these colors be to entice our players to continue to return? Right. So while they're spending that many dollars to make sure they turn you into slaves, there needs to be regulatory bodies that go, you're not allowed to do that. So in this specific instance, it's kind of not a bad thing that somebody's in there going, you can't use human nature to turn these people into your pay pigs, basically.
The
Yeah,
problem
and-
is, Kay, and I agree 100% with you, is that the Western companies haven't been diligent enough to stop these companies buying stakes and smaller parts. And I really do think it's a problem going forward. We wanted to open up the world to China, and they have proven time and time again they are just not good for any industry at large. And I know that's overly political, but that's just the way I see it.
So the way I almost like, it's funny. Just, never mind. I just knew you were going to say that, but I was going to say, as far as it goes with this, my one thought I come away with is well, two things. It's weird for one because China's like one of the biggest company or countries rather, or I guess in this case, continents in this equation that pushes free-to-play games, which is exactly what you just described, Kay. So it seems counterintuitive now that they're like, hey, you can't do this thing that we're encouraging you to do before, right?
Well,
so I don't know. They're just saying
you know
overly,
what though?
Yeah.
You know what though? It's very interesting, and this is not a get to know China off, but very interesting that you should note that, right?
Yeah.
Big thing in general social media, TikTok, right? It's a big thing, right? Do you know that the Chinese version of TikTok just promotes education and all of that, whereas the other TikTok just makes you dumber while you use it?
So this like this. So this is like a plot off South Park where they had the Chinpokumon, and they had us being dumbed down by it, so they can invade
Seriously.
America.
Well, there's that, or there's the idea of they're giving you what you want, and in other markets, those people want education, whereas in the American market, y'all just want to get fat and ugly and just keep worrying about your dumb entertainment. You know, either way, it's what's happening. They are giving different audiences different things. So it is interesting to note that, you know what I'm saying? Like they are buying into free to play, but maybe their free to play isn't as egregious as our free to play.
Maybe that's a fair point. Actually, but I am, the second thought I had was I'm interested in how much of a clearly 54 billion. That's a heavy loss for Tencent. But I'm wondering how effective would that be in preventing them from buying up a few developers I want Microsoft to get. I just wonder. I wonder how much it stops them from pursuing certain other developers and publishers. That's what I'm wondering. Because that's a pretty big loss.
It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen what that will actually do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hopeful that
But other than that
it does have an effect on their consolidation. I don't want them buying into. I think someone said in the chat. I think it was Pete said they've got a 38% stock in Discord. Like they've just got fingers.
Serv was asking, and I didn't know, and I looked it up. That's crazy.
They've got their fingers in a lot of pies, and for a government to be able to have an effect, and any government, and I agree there needs to be regulation, but I believe regulation across the board. I don't know how you regulate. You come to an agreement on a global regulation. It's the same when we go back to the access journalism in the media, and we've had this conversation with Hargeet. And whilst I don't believe that government regulation is the answer in that case, I do believe that private regulation could play a part. So OpenCritic and Metacritic.
It's like the ESRB, right? That is not a global government regulatory body, but it's a regulatory body that all the gaming industry has agreed to, right? A private, but still it governs all, the ESRB, right? Something like that we all agree should be our framework moving forward,
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to OpenCritic, it should be a mandate. Obviously, if they stop access journalism or access completely, that's going to hurt Metacritic and OpenCritic as a company, right? So some sort of a regulation from them around saying to the publishers, you cannot limit creators or media of this size or of this magnitude or some sort of framework to say these guys must receive a copy, and they must be able to review your copy, because that's fair. And then there's no point that the publishers can strong arm the media and strong arm reviewers into giving positive reviews. It makes for a more fair system, a system that the gamers can actually trust. And I think it's a long overdue, long needed, as well as when it comes to, I think some of the things that China has sort of set forth are really good and probably should be adopted. I mean, but then to lose 54 billion overnight, that's staggering. And it shows you how much these little practices, like you said, bringing in the psychologists and doing these little things, logging in daily rewards, that's getting you to the door. Something I used to say back in the day when I was a gym rat is just turn up. And if you can get people to just turn up, they'll eventually make progress. And it's the same for a game. If you can get people to turn up, they might log in intending just to get that streak, but they'll turn up and play. That's farming engagement. And then having
the problem.
I don't think having a limit to how much currency you can add to in-game wallets is particularly a bad thing. I think it's something that's needed. Self-control notwithstanding, parental control also notwithstanding, but we know across the world, parental standards are not the same in every household, and self-control is not the same for every person. So some limits to assist, people with that. I have a friend who played a mobile game and racked up a $10,000 bill, Australian.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. And she's pretty together girl, right? But she just got a little bit sucked into this game, and next minute, 6 months later, she's got a 10 grand bill. That's insanity. And it shouldn't be able to happen in the entertainment industry. Should not be able to fleece you, right?
They're designed that way, Risk. They're designed exactly like gambling machines, which is why we're seeing regulatory bodies around the world try and get rid of loot boxes and things like that. And how you rack up a debt like that, you would think is impossible, but it really, really isn't. There's been so many instances out there where kids have gotten their parents' phone that already have the credit card details in there and literally racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt on it. But I just wanted to make one more point going back to the 10-cent thing. I just looked it up then because I remembered it somewhere in the recesses of my brain, which doesn't go too deep. But when this is the problem with the West, it's all about making money. So when Tencent was looking at purchasing a big stake in Ubisoft, and that deal fell through, the entire Ubisoft share price went down 17%. It went down drastically just because that deal fell through. And when you're talking about money and people making money and shares making money, money does talk. And unfortunately, Tencent has a fuck ton of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. We do got to move on from this, unless Umbra, you wanted to jump in just quickly on this one. I don't think you've given your take on Tencent.
I just gave a little bit on it. Nothing too major. I just my hope is just that this hurts them enough where they kind of stop consolidating, because I want Microsoft to do it. I'm very selfish.
Own everything. Own PlayStation. Nah, man.
Yes.
Come on, bro.
Yes. Own them. One company to rule them out. No, I don't want them to buy.
We're gonna have
There's
this
a symbiotic relationship between PlayStation, Xbox that exists. I don't think one can exist without the other.
Of course. Well, they can.
Let Xbox like Capcom, and I'm happy.
What was that? That was the dub version. That was the dub version of the horn. But no, I don't want them to go that far. But I definitely want them to acquire more, though.
There's a limit, right?
Tencent stands in our way, so I want them to fail. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a limit. There's a limit, right, to consolidation. There needs to be a limit. This is why there's regulators in place. Like, there has to be that limit. Like, Microsoft has already made a few moves since the ABK deal that I would probably consider not anti-consumer, but just rolling back of some of the benefits, right? That would bring you there, because, hey, we've got this, we no longer need this. And that's just something that you're going to see with consolidation. And look, fair enough, absolutely fair enough. But there needs to be a bit of a stopgap on consolidation. And it's good to see For my part, I was pretty happy that Tencent took a hit because it means it's going to take them a little while to claw that back. And so we won't see any more consolidation come their way. So I agree with you there, Umbra, on some. On others, not so much.
I'll work on you.
I hope you're right, Risk, because it honestly didn't take them long to consolidate back after they took that hit last time. They seem to be very resilient.
Yeah, and I think they are supportive, but we won't get into the. Look, we'll move on to the next topic, and before I do, please hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe. We go live Friday, 7 p.m. EST, and if you're in Australia, that's 11 a.m. in the East and West Coast. Best Coast is 8 a.m. and it is the best coast. Just wanted to ram that home. So want to cut back to some of these leaks because there's some things that are sort of related and have come from the leaks. But I was really surprised to see that Sony's forcing budget cuts on Insomniac after they're on the back of their Spider-Man 2 success, which I think is a success. I haven't got the figures for how many they sold, but I would say is resounding success, right? Made money. Yet still we're seeing layoffs at Insomniac. That's in the year where we've had over 6,000 layoffs. I mean, this is sort of crazy, and I think unfair, right? They were very much talking about cutting, so slimming down Ratchet and cutting new IP will not account for the reductions Sony is looking for. So they want to remove 50 to 75 people strategically. Cut deeply into Wolverine and Spider-Man 3 and replace low performers in the team with Ratchet and Clank high performers. That's, to me, you've worked on a game that's very, very successful, and your reward for that is the loss of your job. That, to me, is pretty egregious and horrible to see, especially off the back of that success, Umbra.
No, yeah, I agree. Pete kind of touched on it earlier, but then he went to another point. But it is weird to have them to sell so well and to do, to be praised as much as they were, even being nominated for Game of the Year, which they, lost in every category they were put in. But as far as them being, that's a little shade I threw in there. But as far as them being put in there, clearly the game was a success. I mean, it was bundled too, though. So that brings into question just how successful were they on their own versus the bundling that we heard about, which the documents pointed out to, that they have to sell through like 6 million copies. Now we know that is a thing that they have to do now, so Sony. So I wonder how much that played a part into it as well, as far as the bundling. But it is odd for such a high-end, workhorse as far as Insomniac, like Pete pointed out earlier, that's putting out 5 or 6 games or so within 8 years, supposedly, allegedly. I don't know how many would be delayed until whatever, but for all of them to be put out for any developer they have, I would think that Insomniac would be untouchable, personally. But they're saying that they have to let go of 75 people or something like that. So it's a little bizarre, I would say, to see that it happened to fall back on them of all people. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's been a really unfortunate year in general when it comes to all of that. And I think Microsoft had their share. I think, again, I said this earlier, but Microsoft is going to have we think it was bad this year as far as layoffs. Microsoft is about to make the news next year for some of the layoffs that's about to happen, unfortunately, because a lot of the spots are going to be redundant with the people they're bringing in. So just to throw that out there. But as far as when it comes to Sony, I think it shows that they're bleeding in some ways that they, this is one thing I pointed out too the other day. I said that seeing this information being put out like this, seeing the fear that they clearly have internally of Game Pass and things of that nature, it shows us also that, that PlayStation, although they might put up a good front, that behind the scenes, they're shaking in the boots a little bit. So they're not as infallible as people would be led to believe, or that the media will have you believe because of the sell through of their consoles, because that's always the leading thing. They've sold through 100 and such, and now they're on pace to beat the PS4 or whatever. All those things sound good. So it gives you this air of invincibility when it comes to PlayStation. But I think hearing things like this sheds a truer light on the situation than anything. And they're not as solid as we would be led to believe.
Yeah, I agree, Umbra.
Rick,
It's
I think
really
you're muted.
unfortunate situation, brother.
Yeah, muted. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. I completely agree. I'm just going to bring up on screen the industry major shifts and threats thing again that we were talking about earlier. They seem to be extremely concerned about the position that Microsoft has taken, but then to go and cut from your major studio, the studio that seems to be at this point holding up your entire platform, right? And then looking down the road, when you look at the roadmap, this is a studio that's going to be holding up the platform over time. I mean, we've just got the news from Naughty Dog. They've canceled The Last of Us Factions. Let's be clear. It's very likely that we won't see a game from that studio for this generation. If you exclude the remasters, you exclude the remakes, they haven't produced a game for this platform this generation. So who have we then got left that you could lean on? I mean, Sony Santa Monica, they've just released some DLC and they dropped God of War Ragnarok. They're probably out for the rest of the generation as well. So who's left? They're relying on third parties and Insomniac, and they're pulling developers out of that studio. This doesn't seem to make sense. It does seem fear-based decisions. It does seem like they're trying to claw back some of the losses that they're making. And as Pete was saying, Umbra was saying, the sales don't really seem to count.
Yeah, it cuts deep. It's one of those things where when they need to make their budget, the numbers and cents need to make sense. They're literally just cutting deep at this point, and even the studio that as everyone can agree has kept PlayStation 5 afloat this entire generation. Even they're not immune to these problems. It is a scary place to be for them, because to your point, right? You think the performers are the ones that they prolific this generation. They always tend to be, right? They're putting up game after game after game. And if Spider-Man 2 notwithstanding, they're usually spot on day one, no bugs, nothing. Yes, Spider-Man 2 was the outlier, but even there, it was not that horrible. It was funny, a few things here and there, but at the end of the day, they produced a quality product, right? As they always tend to. So it's super surprising to me that they are on the chopping block as far as potential losses. And then there's that rumor that there's a potential studio closure as well, which is absolutely bananas to me. All this basically says to me that PlayStation bit off more than they could chew when during that time frame between the announcement of ABK and the closure. How many studios did they acquire? Like 7 or something like that, right? All these new studios left and right, and all that equals money. All that equals upkeep, the maintenance that you have to keep up with to keep them afloat while they're making their games. And that's why you're seeing some of these games that we're seeing in these leaks, huge ideas getting stripped or getting closed altogether. Look at the Spider-Man online game. That looked insanely great, and that'll never see the light of day because they don't have the money for it. It's just that simple. So again, the question becomes,
by the way, just to add,
where are the articles? Go ahead, Umbra.
Do you think though that also that might affect the X-Men Online game they had listed on the timeline for Insomniac?
They have Wolverine online too.
They have Wolverine online too. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm hoping that all of this, since it's far enough out, and the roadmap is far enough, is well enough solidified, that this too shall pass and it'll get us there. Because in the short term, it sure does look like all their timelines are going to get shifted based on A, ridiculous leaks and the fallout from that, and B, the lack of money, and as such, they're firing people left and right to keep budgets afloat, right? So it looks like both of those factors may potentially ruin or slow down some of their roadmap here. But the roadmap is a long thing, and I'm hoping and I'm expecting that as long as they get the right person in
Pause.
place, you know, and a new. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. As long as they get a person with vision in place, first and foremost, that can turn around the messaging, at least from a CEO perspective, and somebody who can really steer that ship, I think they'll be all right. They'll be all right in the long run, you know. But in the short term, it does look spooky. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks spooky, and to turn this ship around is going to take a Sean Layden. I really think this is their Xbox One generation. I don't think we've borne out this entire generation yet, but from the standpoint of now, you also got to remember you pointing out that they're talking about closing a studio. They've already closed 2 this gen, from memory.
Yeah,
Yep.
You know, so
true.
we're talking about closing 3 studios. And not having a slate of games. They had a great launch. Let's be honest, like it was a great launch. They had some decent games. You know, if you're looking at, there's 2 sets of figures that came out from that leak with Ratchet and Clank, where, you know, there's one where it lost 4 million, I think, and one where it made a bit. So it's sort of hard to discern which one is more to the true or more up to date. You know, that could have been a not long after launch and it's lost 4 million, and then you've got another graphic that tells you it's made some money, and that could be, you know, just due to sales ongoing after the game's been launched. But from, as you're saying, spooky from this standpoint, to me, it looks like PlayStation's really in trouble. I think it's why we're seeing things like that graphic where they're looking to maximize their returns. Agree with both of you guys when you were talking about, hey, they're probably very likely looking at day and date. I think at this point they have to. We've been saying that I think a lot of Xbox podcasts, a lot of guys, we've all been talking in the background and saying there's going to be a point at which they will go day and date because they have to. They can't continue to sit on their hands and focus on AAA, publishing. They can't afford to make mistakes like releasing that peripheral. I can't even remember the name of it because it's that unimportant. That
Portal.
Yeah. That thing, right? So they can't continue to release.
Jim Ryan is seen as a Don Matrick risk.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's sort of where I'm going. I think this is their Xbox One generation, and I think also to add to that, all of this is giving credence. I mean, look at they've dropped support for PSVR 2, which is exactly what they did in the first generation. They dropped support for PSVR 1. Sorry, Blue. And now they're doing it
official.
It's not official, but
for PSVR 2.
It's a rumor, but I believe it because they did it with PSVR 1, and they would. I don't think that they would announce that peripheral's already out there, right? They still want to sell it. Whether they're going to continue to support it heavily, you know, we've seen a AAA studio closure that focuses generally on VR. This all points to Jim Ryan.
Need them to do if they're going to stop support for PSVR 2. Do me one favor: announce an official driver for PC. Don't ever talk about it again. It's paperweight at this point. Once you announce official drivers for PC, at that point, it will continue to sell. You never have to look at it again. It will continue to sell. Just announce official drivers for PC, you cowards. I'm sorry, Peter, you were saying.
No, that's a great point, Kay. It really, really is. But I was just going to say the proof is that third-party studios are not developing games for the PSVR 2. We're just not seeing it. And so I think that says a lot.
Absolutely. Blue, you obviously were about to jump in, hopefully, about PSVR 2 and having spent all that money and just remaining in the box. I mean, it's terrible.
Yes, I haven't used it yet, but that was because there weren't really any games that were, there was one game that I was interested in, but it was $50 for like a 2-hour experience.
We've got you. I've got you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
I haven't.
They just announced something for
Oh no.
Oh, we've lost her again. Well, we've lost you again. Yeah. We heard you talking, and then all of a sudden you just lost. Yeah. What is going on? It's terrible connections. God damn it, Rode. There's always going to be technical difficulties when you change things. She's out. She's in again.
Mm-hmm.
going back to what I was saying before, I think, and your assertion that it's looking very, very spooky. It is looking spooky. But again, my concern would be I'm an Xbox guy. I don't want Xbox to get this full leg up that PlayStation's had. We've seen what happens. We've seen the arrogance of these companies when that happens. We saw it with the Xbox One. We've seen it with the start of the PlayStation 5 generation. And we've seen what great competition gives us. You know, the Xbox 360 came out absolutely firing. Sure, they haven't done it with the Series X, but I would argue they've done a pretty good job after 2022. In 2021, they had a bit of an issue. So, yeah, I think PlayStation needs to sort of.
Is the PlayStation 4 didn't really launch with that many games. I think the Xbox One really came out of the gate really fighting with, I think, Dead Rising 3 and Rise Son of Rome and Sunset Overdrive and Titanfall, and by memory, I think the only thing that PlayStation really had was that 1886 game, or which is pretty good, but by no means a fantastic game. So, this isn't too dissimilar a position that they have been in before, but that name just still sells. I mean, even over the holiday period, the PlayStation sold incredibly well. And so I do think that they're in a position to come back, but they need a shift in direction. I think that Jim Ryan leaving is a good shift. Blind Riot did say he wanted to talk about it. He's mentioned it a few times that Jim Ryan has sold a significant portion, if not all of his portion of his stock in PlayStation as he's left. Does that suggest, that he knows something we don't know? I'm not too sure, but it is a little bit unusual.
Or, I mean, you could take that in two ways, right? There's a couple of directions you can take that from. You could take that from it's a part of his contract to sell out. I think I looked at that. His shares are worth around about 4 mil. I could be wrong on that, but I did have a quick look. It's around about 4 mil. You could say that that's part of his contract for, his golden parachute. Or, like you said, Pete, he might know something we don't know, but he might know what we know now, which, like Kay said, it's looking pretty spooky. And from his view, he would know a lot more. So if Insomniac's roadmap is really the only roadmap that they have, that's a real concern. But still, for me, it gives me hope, a reason to keep the ugliest console that's ever been made, the PlayStation 5. Umbra, Blue, you back. How are we going with the...
Here. Can you hear me?
Gotcha, yeah, we gotcha. Did you want to finish off where you were headed?
I don't remember. I got too mad. My PC came from Toys R Us, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here tonight.
I don't want to grow up.
Oh, I was going to ask, actually, before I just disappear into the void again. Okay, I think that they'll put games day and date on PC for sale before they ever do day and date in PS Plus. What do you think about that?
That is very, very true and an astute point. Yes, because day and date on PC equals more money. Day and date on console on their subscription service is just more value for the existing base that is already paying, and that does not translate to newer dollars and newer cents. Honestly, the only thing that I think that's stopping them right now from going day and date on PC is they don't want to pay the 30% fee to Steam and all those others. They want their own store, right?
Well,
which they will soon.
After they lose that court case, right? It's going to open the floodgates for a lot of that.
Absolutely. And they will soon come to learn that even if they open their own store, PC people are just as troglodyte as console people are. They will not install your launcher. You have to put it on Steam. You just have to. So you do. People complaining, I'm getting free stuff from a different launcher. Like, shut up. It's free. Shut your mouth, you fool. Anyway, right? But they complain.
And it's huge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've given me up to date about 300 free games, but people complain because it's a different thing you have to install. Anyway,
I'm like,
this
it's
is what
free?
tells me
Where
the
do I
PlayStation
sign up?
hasn't learned. Exactly. Give me 15 launchers as long as it's free.
Right.
What are you talking about? Anyway,
Right.
you know, this is why I think PlayStation has not gotten there yet, so they haven't learned that lesson. Even when they have their own store, they're gonna go and end up going to Steam. They don't want to pay that 30%, and that's why you don't see them in the store. You don't see their day and date now, right? But it can't. They can't hold out. They don't have enough money. There's so much money being left on the table that until they do, they're just gonna be having to, you know, cut deep, unfortunately, to make their budget numbers, which is terrible. They should definitely be putting them on PC right now. A really interesting idea that I think I saw him in the chat. Shout out to Hargeet Chani. He posted that I had never thought about, and he brought that to the forefront. And it's weird, but it had my brain going. The only other way they could solve this problem is make a deal with Microsoft and put it on Game Pass PC day one.
Oof.
All of your games. Game Pass
That's a good
PC
idea.
day one. Not on the console because, you know, the troglodytes like to battle. Okay. Game Pass PC day one. That
But
way, basically, Microsoft is paying for all of your marketing and or development budget.
Okay.
And you can
The-
still sell it wherever you
Our
want.
They'd
Who
make-
brothers would
they'd
have a
still make more
meltdown.
Yeah,
They'd make
man,
more money
yeah.
on Epic's, like, or selling it on Steam, I think, than they'd get out of Microsoft.
Sure, but this deal would let you continue to sell it on Steam, right? Microsoft
Oh.
never says you're giving it to us, but you can't go anywhere else. You would put it on Microsoft, which would then give you that nice, wonderful blanket of getting all of your development budget paid for, or your marketing budget paid for, right? And then you could still sell it everywhere else.
Sure.
Right now,
a good
the Hoove brothers, as you point out, Umbra, would have a field day, but we
Yes,
would
sir.
enjoy the Hooved hypocrisy and the Hooved hijinks. You know, we would
Why is that not a
we would
button?
enjoy ourselves.
The Hooch
That should
hysterics.
definitely be- That
Yes.
should definitely be a button. Yes. But no, I think that's a good solution, right? It'd be weird, right? But it's a good solution because Microsoft would gladly pay you to put all those games on Game Pass
Absolutely, they
PC,
would. Yeah.
right? It's a weird solution,
That's
but
that's
they
why
should
it
think
won't.
about it.
That's why it won't happen though, okay? Because that's
Yeah.
too good. That seems almost like too beneficial for Microsoft in that way. In a way.
And when Hargeet brought it up, I was like, that is very strange. And I've been thinking about that since. And I'm like, the brother makes a point. That is a very interesting solution. That could work.
yeah, I don't
says
see
there's a lot
Sony
of
coming
good
to the table.
He says the Hoove brothers don't help PlayStation's bottom line. If they did, they wouldn't have to bring games to PC. And that's true.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. There you
And the
go.
attach,
Yeah.
just the attach rate, like alone is around, I'd say, give it an average of around about 8%, which is not a great attach rate when you're talking about 40 million consoles. And then up against the cost of developing a AAA game, you need to be having 100 million, which is why we've seen PlayStation sort of sitting at that cross-gen crossroads where they won't seem to cross over because it's just leaving too much money on the table. Whereas Xbox doesn't have that issue, right? Because they've got different avenues.
Let me ask this now.
Yeah.
Because Hargeet said he says he sees it as a win-win for both PlayStation and Xbox if they put the PC ports on Game Pass. Now, we all know our Hoove brothers would go into hysterics absolutely in that point, right?
Sure.
Do you think, and I think that it would cause a mass issue for them because they've already been solidified as far as being, you know, isolated to the PlayStation 5 where they play their games. Now they have it where our service that they've called all sorts of demeaning names from welfare pass to everything else now has their games in it as well. I don't see that going well for Sony. I think it'll backfire.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, like MLB The Show says hello. Like, come on now. It is what it is. Shut your mouth and take your money. Like, come on. you know? It's been in there for how many years now? Making all the change. Sells even more on Xbox than it does on PlayStation, even though it's in the subservice.
Just to throw it out there, though,
backlash
our
they
Hoove
got
brothers
from
threw
that
that out of the
was pretty
window.
bad.
Yeah, but they threw that out of the window. They were like, "Oh, well, that's not really first party." You know, that's
So now all of a
MLB.
sudden that's second party.
That's how they saw it. They were like, "That doesn't really count."
why PlayStation's got a dedicated baseball game when I would dare say that there'll be more baseball fans that on Xbox than are on PlayStation. So it was a game that would specifically fit into Game Pass well. If others would do the same, I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still an interesting place to think about. You know,
Yeah.
it's still an interesting place to think about. If you are cash strapped and are looking to port your games to PC, there is a company that's ready to pay for all of your development. They
And-
just have to be the competitor on the console side.
It's an interesting thought experiment, but I will agree with Pete on this one, and it's very unlikely that PlayStation would ever give a leg up unless they went third party, but they are. So then that possibility is there, right? It's there. It's a
I
thought.
mean, MLB The Show once again says hello.
Hold on, Risk, say that again. You agree with who, bro?
Nobody. Everything I say.
Hey, did you see? Boba said Sony is fanboy rich, business strategy poor.
yeah. That is the statement of the day. Absolutely.
They definitely are, and they just get 110. This is the thing; they get defended to the death. And you know, we talked about this a lot, but like, I would like to see Sony's fanboys, give Sony the smoke that they deserve when they deserve it, so that Sony would have maybe pivoted a lot earlier and gone, hey, we don't like this. We did see it. The one time I think I can remember seeing it almost ever was the recent showcase where they're like, we don't like live service. And it seems like they're listening. But that's going to be a costly mistake, I think, for PlayStation. Look, we've been running this for 2 hours. We've had some technical issues. I think we've been all right at this crack. It was a fantastic show. It's great stuff to talk about. There's so much more to talk about. We'll probably be talking about these Insomniac leaks going forward for quite a few shows as more and more information comes to light. So don't think that we're done talking about it, because we're not. And if the media won't talk about it, we 110% will. That's a damn guarantee. You guys in the chat have been absolutely on fire and amazing, and a whole bunch of you guys are new to the show, so appreciate you guys sticking around. Everyone who did, I know that there's other shows running at the same time, and I have been giving them the righteous smoke behind the scenes. Don't worry. This is my slot. No. Kay, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I definitely wanted to get you on the first time that we went cameras, so I really appreciate you coming through, man. It's always a pleasure having you here. So please let people know where they can find you, what you'll be looking forward to coming, in the coming new year. And if you do want to find Kay or any of his links, you can head down in the description below and click on those and take you straight to wherever you can find Kay. Kay, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't say it at the top, so I'll say it at the end. These days, the game that's been keeping me busy is Cookie Cutter. I don't know if you've heard of it, but you need to be playing that game. It is pretty awesome. Look it up. It's on Steam. It'll come to everything eventually. Cookie Cutter. It's a Metroidvania 2D awesome platformer thing. It's awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for having me as usual. I'm always catching your shows when I can. I appreciate you. It's great that y'all are on cam. Maybe you can get JediKnightPeter and the singing one to show their faces as well. It'd be good. Absolutely awesome. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Then we can actually see the pimp hat that he wears every time the song comes on.
Oh yeah.
Stop it. There you go. Bring on the sombrero. That's right. That's right.
The wizard sombrero.
Did you say pimp hat?
The wizard sombrero. So as for me, myself and Everborn Saga, we're done making shows for 2024 or 2023. We will come back early 2024, but in 1, 2, 3 days, nothing else is happening in 3 days except for my birthday. My birthday is on the 25th, so happy birthday to me. And for my birthday,
birthday, brother.
Wrong button.
Thank you.
Wrong
Appreciate
button.
that.
All together now. All together now. Happy birthday.
No.
I'm trying to serenade.
Birthday.
Nope, there'll be no serenading.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God.
Dear Kay.
Oh my God.
Happy birthday
And why is the blue number keep getting all the icons? Nobody else.
Yeah, why is she not singing with us? Sing with us, bro. Come on.
No, she's getting all the duck stuff. It's weird. Anyway,
Happy birthday, brother.
on my birthday, we will be giving away a Series X to someone in the community. Globally, yes, absolutely. The only rules are you have to be following me and my co-host, Mr. Everborn Saga, on x/twitter.com, and also be subscribed to our channel. We will literally go into the channel, we will pick somebody globally, and you will get a Series X. We will ship it to you free of charge. It's all yours. So follow us. You will see it. I think it's Monday during the day at some point. I will do that. And merry, happy, and all of that. And I love the show. Love you guys. Always put on an amazing show, and I will be back whenever you need me to be. So thank you very much.
Awesome, man. We love having you.
What's with the fingers, man? This is getting crazy right now.
Pete was like, damn, it shows that emoji.
That's a good one.
Blue, another fantastic week. Let the people know where they can find you, and you are on another show, the Renegade Realm podcast, I believe it's called. Did I get that right? Yes.
The
Woo!
Renegade Realms, Red Wolf.
So
I'm not sure what it was.
yeah. So it's the Renegade Realm podcast, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Central. It's with Red Wolf, who did a super fun chat yesterday with Colt about Starfield and its current state and where it's going. So you could go check that out on Colt's. But come see us
podcast,
because yes, we talk a lot of goofiness and shenanigans, and we oonts, which you probably saw us doing in the chat because it's the silly thing that we do. But other than that, I'm ThatBlueNumber. I finished Venba this week. I played Tin Hearts this week for a while. Did not finish it. Didn't love it that much. I've been playing a lot of Dredge, which is just a super fantastic indie that's really, really good. You should play that. And I will be doing the holiday thing this coming week and taking a couple days off. Kay Asante, thank you for being here. And happy birthday. Seriously, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Have a wonderful New Year's.
Aww,
And you chat, everyone here. Yes, everyone here. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
I need an button. Aww.
That's the fairy magic button.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Nope, wrong one.
What?
Wrong one.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
He did that one on purpose. Come on,
I'm gonna get this man a label maker.
Infinite. Umbra, another fantastic week. Let the people know where they can find you, what you'll be playing, how your Christmas is planned, everything about your show.
Yes, it's that time, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see Red Wolf is getting used to it. He just did it in the chat. So, my ladies and gentlemen, I need you to pay attention and get yourself in order. Infinite Umbra is coming to you live in effect. Okay, there we go. Good show.
That
Kay,
is just so
brother.
inappropriate. I'm sorry. That's inappropriate.
I didn't look over you once, bro.
As soon as Pete talks, it's normally up. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he jumps in, he just messes it up. I'm all cool before that, like, yeah. He's like, hey, bro. And I'm like, yeah. But yeah, okay. Thank you, brother, for joining us again. Legendary Kay Asante, we appreciate you. Happy future birthday for you, and Merry Christmas, of course, to you and the family. I'll be expecting my Christmas gift. As far as everybody else here on the panel, Merry Christmas to everybody, and happy holidays to all those in the chat. I don't know what we're supposed to say to each other. You might celebrate something I don't. What? I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate All Hell's Eve. Like, I don't know what, but happy holidays to you. Whatever, right?
All Hell's Eve.
Yeah, I don't know what they celebrate.
Turn quickly.
Happy holidays, you know. But of course, you guys can find me on Twitter X, Infinite Umbra, or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Tuesdays on Boom's Xbox Factor at 12 Eastern. Thursdays, The Fix with myself and Daniel McGee. That is 8 o'clock Eastern. And of course, here on the Infinite Podcast, named after me, 8 o'clock Eastern. And man, again, have a holly jolly Christmas. Is you the snow from me, talented Riskit.
Well done, sir.
God, please, no.
You see all this hate I have to endure, okay?
Yeah. Jedi Knight Peter.
Oh,
The people know
I
where
do
they can
love that
find you.
introduction. I should get that introduction every single time. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all panel, everyone in the chat. Thank you for being here. Happy Festivus. Risk, congratulations, brother. You've been wanting to go camera for a long time. And damn, we got a lot of achievement sounds today. So I'm guessing a lot of people subscribed. So congratulations, mate. Peace out. You can find me at JediKnightPeter everywhere.
Yeah, I think you can. Couple of technical difficulties, but we'll get there in the end. We'll get there. If you want to find any of our guests or any of our panel members, you guys can head down into the description below. Click a button, you're down there, boom, you're straight to wherever they are. So absolutely do that. Head there and subscribe to their Twitters. They are a good time, every single one of them. You guys in the chat have been absolutely amazing today. Even Blind Riot, you've been amazing also. I'm glad that we're good now after last show. So Merry Christmas to everyone in the chat. Merry Christmas to UK and your family. Blue, you and your family. Umbra, you and your family. And Peter, you and your family. Merry Christmas to all you guys. Happy Hanukkah. And we will probably see you next week because we don't take breaks. No, we don't take no breaks. Maybe we should take a break.
Peace and love.
God, it's that awkward moment where I haven't got to the end stream button yet. And then we haven't ended it. And I keep rambling and it's
Later, guys.